Hi, I'm Obadiah. Welcome back to another reading of Jonathan Livingston's Seagull. And wait, what, hold on a second. This is not right. No. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we left off before. If you haven't seen this clip, then click the link below and you can check out the first part. Jonathan Livingston's Seagull had just set the world record for gulls flying at terminal velocity 215 miles an hour. And he sailed right through an entire flock of seagulls and no one was hurt. We'll pick up there. His thought was triumph. Terminal velocity, a seagull at 214 miles per hour. It was a breakthrough. The greatest single moment in the history of the flock. And in that moment, a new age opened up for Jonathan Gull. Flying out to his lonely practice area, folding his wings for a dive from 8,000 feet, he set himself at once to discover how to turn. A single wingtip feather he found, moved a fraction of an inch, gives a smooth, sweeping curve at tremendous speed. Before he learned this, however, he found that more than one feather, at that speed, would spin you like a rifle ball, and Jonathan had flown the first aerobatics of any seagull on earth. He spared no time that day for talk with other gulls, but flew past sunset. He discovered the loop, the slow roll, the point roll, the inverted spin, the gull bunt, and the pinwheel. When Jonathan Seagull joined the flock on the beach, it was full night. He was dizzy and terribly tired. Yet, in delight, he flew a loop to landing with a snap roll just before touchdown. When they hear of it, he thought, of the breakthrough. They'll be wild with joy. How much more now is there to live for? Instead of our drab slogging back and forth to the fishing boats, there's a reason to live. There's a reason to life. We can lift ourselves up out of ignorance. We can find ourselves as creature of excellence and intelligence and skill. We can be free. We can learn to fly. Some other pictures in the book. A lot of good photography of gulls. The years ahead hummed and glowed with promise. The gulls were flocked into a council gathering when he landed. Apparently, they had been so flocked for some time. They were, in fact, waiting. Jonathan Livingston Seagull, stand to center. The elder's words sounded in a voice of highest ceremony. Stand to center meant only great shame or great honor. Stand to center for honor was the way the gulls' foremost leaders were marked. Of course, he thought, the breakfast flock this morning. They saw the breakthrough, but I want no honors. I have no wish to be a leader. I only want to share what I've found, to show these horizons are ahead for all of us. He stepped forward. Jonathan Livingston Seagull, said the elder, stand to center for shame in the sight of your fellow gulls. It felt like being hit with a board. His knees went weak. His feathers sagged. There was roaring in his ears. Centered for shame? Impossible. The breakthrough. They can't understand. They're wrong. They're wrong. For his reckless irresponsibility, the solemn voice intoned, violating the dignity and tradition of the gull family. To be centered for shame meant that he would be cast out of gull society, banished to a solitary life on the far cliffs. One day, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, you shall learn that irresponsibility does not pay. Life is the unknown and the unknowable. Accept that we are put into this world to eat, to stay alive as long as we possibly can. A seagull never speaks back to the council flock, but it was Jonathan's voice raised. Irresponsibility, my brothers, he cried. Who is more responsible than a gull who finds and follows a meaning, a higher purpose for life? For 1,000 years we've scrabbled after fish heads, and now we have a reason to live, to learn, to discover, to be free. Give me one chance. Let me show you what I've found. The flock may as well have been stone. The brotherhood is broken, the gulls intoned together, and with accord they solemnly closed their ears and turned their backs upon him. Imagine if everyone you knew just turned their backs on you. Jonathon Seagull spent the rest of his days alone, but he flew away out beyond the far cliffs. His one sorrow was not solitude. It was that the other gulls refused to believe the glory of flight that awaited them. They refused to open their eyes and see. He learned more each day. He learned that streamlined high-speed dive could bring in a find. I'll read that again. Sometimes when you read, you make a mistake. He learned more each day. He learned that a streamlined high-speed dive could bring him to find the rare and tasty fish that schooled 10 feet below the surface of the ocean. He no longer needed fishing boats and stale bread for survival. He learned to sleep in the air, setting a course at night across the offshore wind, covering 100 miles from sunset to sunrise. With the same inner control, he flew through heavy sea fogs and climbed above them to a dazzling clear skies. And in the very times when every other seagull stood on the ground, knowing nothing but mist and rain, he learned to ride the high winds far inland, to dine there on delicate insects. What he had once hoped for the flock, he now gained for himself alone. He learned to fly and was not sorry for the price he had paid. Jonathon Seagull discovered boredom and fear and anger are the reasons that a gull's life are so short. And with these gone from his thought, he lived a long, fine life indeed. And some more pictures. Some other cool pictures. They came in the evening, then, and found Jonathon gliding peaceful and alone through his beloved sky. The two gulls that appeared had wings as pure as starlight, and the glow from them was gentle and friendly in the high night air. But most lovely of all was the skill which they flew, their wingtips moving a precise and constant itch from his own. Without a word, Jonathon put them to the test, a test that no gull ever passed. He twisted his wings and slowed to a single mile per hour above stall. The two radiant birds slowed with him, smoothly locked in position. They knew about slow flying. He folded his wings, rolled, and dropped into a dive, 190 miles per hour. They dropped with him, streaking down in flawless formation. At last, he turned that speed straight up into a long, vertical, slow roll. They rolled with him, smiling. He recovered to level flight and was quiet for a time before he spoke. "Very well," he said. "Who are you?" "We're from your flock, Jonathon. We are your brothers." The words were strong and calm. "We've come to take you higher, to take you home." "Home? I have none. Flock? I have none. I am outcast." "And we fly now at the peak of the great mountain wind. Beyond a few hundred feet, I can lift this old body no higher." "But you can, Jonathon, for you have learned. One school is finished, and the time has come for another to begin." As it shined across him all his life, so understanding lighted that moment for Jonathon Seagull. They were right. He could fly higher, and it was time to go home. He gave one last long look across the sky, across that magnificent silver land where he had learned so much. "I'm ready," he said at last. And Jonathon Livingston Seagull rose with the two star-bright gulls to disappear into a perfect dark sky. Come back next time for part 2 of Jonathon Livingston Seagull. Thanks so much.